you touch my mother like you know her? I don't. Who do you think you are? Get out of my wedding right now.
She grabbed my wrist. Right there in the middle of that grand, glittering ballroom, with 200 people watching, with the chandelier lights blazing above us, with the orchestra playing softly in the background. She grabbed my wrist, looked me dead in the eyes, and slapped me across the face. Hard. The music stopped. Every single conversation in that room died in an instant. My cheek was on fire, my ears were ringing, and for a second, just 1 second, my eyes filled up. But I did not cry. I straightened up slowly, touched my cheek once, then dropped my hand. And I reached into my pocket and sent one message. 3 words. Bring the cars. And trust me when I tell you what happened next, nobody in that ballroom was ready for. Hey, I'm Scotty. And before I go any further, I just want to say, if you have ever been looked down on, talked over, dismissed, or made to feel like you don't belong somewhere, this story is for you. Stay with me until the very end, because this one doesn't end the way you think it will, it ends better. If you're new here, welcome. Hit that subscribe button right now and turn on your notifications, because I tell stories that will stay with you long after the video ends. All right, let's go back to that night. Let me tell you everything from the very beginning. I want you to picture me. No designer bag, no expensive jewelry, no luxury car parked outside, just a woman in a clean, simple outfit, a plain navy blue top, modest trousers, flat shoes, hair pulled back neatly, nothing about me that would make you look twice. And that is exactly how I like it. My name is Scotty, I am in my mid-40s, I live alone in a quiet part of the city, I drive a basic car, I go to the grocery store myself, I cook my own meals, my neighbors think I work in some kind of administrative job, something boring and unremarkable. None of them know the truth. The truth is I own 4 hotels in this city. I have business interests in real estate, hospitality, and private catering contracts that run into tens of millions of dollars every single year. I built all of it myself, quietly, carefully, over 20 years. I don't talk about it, I don't post about it, I don't wear it. Why? Because I learned something very early in life. When people know what you have, they stop seeing who you are, they start calculating, they start performing, and I never wanted that kind of attention around me. So I live simply and I watch. Now let me tell you about Gloria. Gloria is one of the kindest women I have ever met in my life. I met her about 12 years ago when I was still building my first hotel. She worked in the permits office at the City Building Authority, a small, warm woman with reading glasses always pushed up on her head and a smile that made you feel like everything was going to be okay. When my permit applications were getting buried and delayed and I was losing money every single week, Gloria personally walked my files through the system, not because I paid her, not because I asked her to, but because she said, and I remember her exact words, "Beta, you're working hard and doing things right, you deserve a fair chance." She called me Beta like I was her own child. I never forgot that. Over the years we stayed in touch, not constantly but warmly, a call on Eid, a message on birthdays. She came to the quiet opening of my second hotel and cried happy tears like a proud mother. So when I got her call telling me her daughter Natalie was getting married and would I please come to the wedding reception, I said yes immediately. I didn't think twice. I should have thought twice. I wrapped a plain gift bag the evening before the wedding, inside it an envelope. In that envelope the deed to a small, beautiful house on the quieter side of the city, fully paid, in Gloria's name. Not Natalie's name, Gloria's name. Because the gift was for the mother who deserved good things, not for the daughter I barely knew. I tied a simple ribbon around the bag, put it in my passenger seat, and drove to the Harlow Grand Hotel on the night of the wedding. The Harlow Grand. My hotel. I want you to imagine walking into this place. The Harlow Grand Hotel Ballroom is one of the most beautiful spaces in the entire city. I renovated it 8 years ago, completely rebuilt the interior. 20-foot ceilings, 3 massive crystal chandeliers that I had imported specially, gold-trimmed table settings, fresh flowers, hundreds of them arranged in tall, elegant vases at every table, a live orchestra set up in the far corner, soft, warm lighting that makes everything look like it is glowing. It was stunning that night. Even I felt it, and I had walked through that ballroom 100 times. Guests were dressed in full luxury, designer gowns in rich colors, men in tailored suits, women with jewelry that caught the light every time they moved, photographers weaving between tables, staff in crisp uniforms moving silently and efficiently. I walked in, and immediately I felt the eyes. Not the warm kind, the scanning kind, the kind that starts at your shoes and moves slowly upward and then looks away with a small expression that says, "You don't quite fit here." I smiled anyway, found my seat, sat down quietly, poured myself a glass of water and looked around with genuine appreciation at how well my staff had set everything up. I was genuinely proud of them that night. And then I saw her. Natalie. The bride. She was beautiful, I will give her that. Stunning white gown, perfect hair, professional makeup. She was moving through the room greeting guests, laughing that loud performance laugh that people do when they want everyone to notice them. And then her eyes landed on me. I saw the exact moment it happened. The smile didn't disappear all at once, it just froze, then slowly shifted into something else entirely, something cold. She said something to one of her bridesmaids, a tall woman in a champagne-colored dress standing beside her. The bridesmaid looked at me too, they both looked. Then Natalie started walking toward me. I thought maybe she's coming to say hello, maybe Gloria told her about me, maybe she just wants to thank me for coming. I picked up my water glass and prepared to smile. She stopped right in front of my table, looked me up and down one full time, slowly, deliberately, like I was something she was evaluating at a market. Then she said, loud enough for the entire nearby section to hear, "Excuse me, who are you exactly, and why are you dressed like you came straight from a bus stop?" The table next to mine went quiet. I set my glass down. I said calmly, "I'm Scotty, I'm a friend of your mother's, she invited me, congratulations on your wedding." Natalie tilted her head, her smile came back, but it was the dangerous kind, the kind that is not really a smile at all. "Oh," she said slowly, "you're the one my mother pities, I've heard about you, she has a habit of collecting charity cases." I heard someone at the next table take a sharp breath. I said nothing. "Look at this gift bag," she continued, picking up my plain bag from the table without asking, turning it over in her hands. "Did you wrap this yourself with leftover ribbon?" Her bridesmaids laughed, quietly, like they had been trained to. I kept my voice completely even. "Please put that down, it's fragile." She put it down, hard, like I had annoyed her. "I think," Natalie said, crossing her arms now, "that my mother needs to be more careful about who she invites to important events. This is a wedding, not a community charity lunch." It was at that exact moment that Gloria appeared. She must have seen from across the room because she was moving fast, faster than I had ever seen that sweet woman move. Her face was already anxious, already sorry before she even reached us. "Natalie," she started. "Mama, not now," Natalie snapped without even looking at her. "Natalie, this is Scotty, she is my guest, she is a dear friend." "I know who she is, Mama." Natalie finally turned to her mother and her voice dropped, but not in a kind way, in a way that had edges. "Why would you invite someone like this to my wedding? Tonight of all nights, look at her, look at this table. She is ruining the entire aesthetic." Gloria's face crumbled right in front of me. This woman who had called me beta, who had walked my files through a corrupt system with nothing but kindness in her heart, this woman was standing here being spoken to like she was a child who had done something wrong. I reached over and gently placed my hand on Gloria's hand. Just to tell her without words that she had nothing to be sorry about, that she had done nothing wrong, that I was okay. And that is when Natalie snapped. Completely. She moved so fast I didn't see it coming. She grabbed my wrist hard and yanked my hand away from her mother. And then she raised her hand and brought it down across my face. The sound of it cut through the entire ballroom. The orchestra stopped mid-note like someone had cut a wire. Every conversation died. Every head turned. 200 people all looking at us. My head had turned from the force of it. My cheek was burning, a deep, immediate heat that spread from my jaw to my eye. The inside of my ear was ringing. I stood very still. Natalie was breathing hard, her chest rising and falling fast, and then she started screaming. "How dare you touch my mother like you know her? Who do you think you are? You come into my wedding in your cheap clothes with your pathetic little bag and you think you can." Her voice was shaking the chandeliers. You are nobody, do you hear me? Nobody, get out. Get out of my wedding right now before I have security throw you out. The bridesmaids were pulling at her arms, guests were frozen where they stood. A woman near the back had her hand pressed over her mouth. 2 waiters near the wall had gone completely still, trays in hand, not knowing what to do. And Brandon, the groom, was standing 20 feet away. Watching. Doing nothing. Not one step forward, not one word, just watching. Gloria was crying now, silently, tears running freely, her hand pressed to her heart. I looked at Natalie. She was still trembling, still breathing hard, still waiting for me to react, to scream back, to cry, to beg, to collapse. I did none of those things. I straightened my back slowly. I touched my cheek once, just once, with 2 fingers, then I dropped my hand to my side. I looked her directly in the eyes. And I said very quietly, very clearly, I forgive you, good luck. That was all. I picked up my bag from the table. I walked to the gift table near the entrance and set the plain bag down gently, and then I walked toward the exit. The crowd parted. Every step I took, silence followed me. I did not look back. Not once. Outside, the night air hit me like cold water. I walked to the far side of the entrance, away from the valets, away from the smokers near the side door, and I stood alone against the wall. My hands were shaking, just slightly. Not because I was scared, not even because of the pain in my face, though it was still burning, but because of Gloria, because of the look on her face, because of the sound of a good woman's heart breaking in a room full of people who just watched it happen. I closed my eyes. I thought about walking away completely, getting in my car, going home, making tea, letting this night disappear. But then I thought about Brandon, standing there, saying nothing, and I realized his silence was not weakness, it was calculation. He knew exactly what was happening and he chose to let it continue. And then I thought about Natalie, screaming the word nobody like it was a weapon. Nobody. My phone buzzed. I looked at the screen, it was Arthur. Arthur has worked with me for 20 years. He is not just an associate, he is the only person outside of my legal team who knows the full picture of everything I own and everything I do. He monitors all 4 hotels through a private security system. He sees everything. Miss Scotty, he said the moment I picked up. His voice was careful, controlled, but I could hear something underneath it. I was reviewing the ballroom feed for a routine check. I saw what happened. Are you all right? I leaned my head back against the wall. Arthur, I said quietly. Yes, Miss Scotty. Bring the cars. A pause, just 2 seconds. All 3. All 3. 7 minutes. That is how long it took. 3 black Rolls-Royces, long, silent, perfect, rolled into the Harlow Grand Hotel driveway in a single smooth line. The valets scrambled, the doorman straightened immediately. 2 junior staff members near the entrance actually took a step back without realizing it. And then the doors of the hotel burst open, and Mr. Warren came rushing out. Mr. Warren is the general manager of the Harlow Grand, a sharp, professional man who has run this hotel for 6 years. He is very good at his job, he maintains the highest standards, he knows every detail of every operation inside that building. But tonight, his face was the color of paper. He had seen the security footage. He had seen his owner, his employer, standing in his ballroom getting slapped across the face by a wedding guest. He could barely form words when he reached me. Miss Scotty, he said, and his voice actually cracked slightly. I am so deeply, profoundly sorry. I had no idea you were attending tonight. I had no idea that any of this I should have, the staff should have. I held up one hand. Warren, I said calmly, take me inside. He straightened immediately. Yes, Miss Scotty, of course. We walked through the main entrance together. I want you to understand what happened in that lobby. Without a single announcement, without anyone being told, every member of hotel staff who was visible straightened up, shoulders back, eyes forward. The head of housekeeping, who was crossing the lobby with a clipboard, stopped walking the moment she saw me and stood respectfully to the side. 2 waiters coming out of the kitchen corridor saw Mr. Warren's face and immediately understood that something significant was happening. The energy shifted, like a current running through the building. We walked toward the ballroom doors. Warren pushed them open, and I walked back in. The same ballroom. The same chandeliers, the same flowers, the same 200 people. But this time the silence was different. Before, when I walked out, the silence was the silence of shock, of witnessing something ugly and not knowing what to do. This silence, this one, was recognition. People saw Mr. Warren beside me. They saw the hotel staff position themselves near the walls. Through the tall glass entrance doors behind us, 3 black Rolls-Royces were clearly visible in the driveway, their engines still running, uniformed drivers standing beside each one. Natalie saw me the moment I entered. I watched it happen, the color leaving her face in real time, like someone had pulled a plug. Brandon saw her expression and turned, and when he saw me, saw Warren beside me, saw the cars outside, I watched his jaw tight, because Brandon is a businessman, and businessmen understand signals. Mr. Warren stepped slightly forward and spoke clearly, not shouting, but with the kind of voice that carries in a quiet room. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to inform everyone present that the owner of the Harlow Grand Hotel has returned to the venue this evening. The ripple went through the room like a wave. Someone actually said out loud, "She owns this hotel." A bridesmaid grabbed another bridesmaid's arm. And then Gloria. Sweet, broken Gloria, who had been sitting in a chair near the side wall, still wiping her eyes, lifted her head, looked at me, looked at Warren, looked at the cars outside. And I watched her face go from confusion to understanding to something that looked almost like wonder. Brandon moved first, of course he did. He crossed the room quickly, hand extended, voice already warm and apologetic. "Ms. Scotty, I am so sorry, truly. What happened tonight was completely unacceptable and I take full responsibility." I looked at his extended hand, then up at his face. He was not sorry about my cheek, he was sorry about his contract. I had renewed his company's catering supply contract with 2 of my hotels just 4 months ago, a 3-year deal, worth a significant amount of money. He knew it, I knew it, and now he knew that I knew exactly why he was standing in front of me with his hand out and his voice full of sudden concern. I did not take his hand. I just looked at him for a long moment. Then I turned away. Natalie had been moving toward me too, slower, more uncertain, her beautiful gown suddenly looking like a costume, her perfect hair and makeup somehow not quite holding together the way it had an hour ago. I don't know what happened to me tonight," she started, voice smaller now. "I was stressed, the wedding pressure, it was completely out of character, I would never normally." "Natalie." One word, quiet, firm. It came from Gloria. Natalie stopped talking. Gloria had stood up from her chair. She walked slowly to stand beside her daughter. She looked at Natalie for a long moment, a mother's look, the kind that holds a lifetime of love and disappointment and exhaustion all at once. "Enough," Gloria said, just that word. And somehow that one word from her mother did what 200 people watching could not do. Natalie went completely silent. I turned to Warren. Quietly, just between us, I gave him 3 instructions. The first, the venue booking for this evening, was to be reviewed immediately based on the security footage. The legal team would handle the contract implications. The second, Brandon's catering contract renewal, which was currently sitting on my desk awaiting my final signature, was to be placed on indefinite hold effective tonight. Warren nodded once after each instruction, professional, steady, not a flicker of anything on his face. Then I walked to the gift table near the entrance. My plain bag was still sitting there exactly where I had left it. Nobody had touched it, nobody had opened it. I picked it up. And I walked to Gloria. She was still standing near her chair, small, tired, her eyes red from crying. She looked at me like she wanted to say 1,000 things and couldn't find a single one. I held out the bag to her. "This was always for you," I said, "not for tonight, not for anyone else, just for you." Her hands were trembling when she took it. She opened the envelope slowly, unfolded the paper inside. I watched her read it. Watched her eyes move across the page. Watched the moment she understood what it was. She pressed the paper to her chest and closed her eyes, and the tears came again, but these ones were completely different from before. These ones were quiet and full and real. She didn't say anything. She didn't need to. I squeezed her hand once, both of my hands around hers, warm and firm. Then I turned, looked at the room one final time. 200 people, all watching, all silent. I said nothing. I walked to the exit, through the grand doors, down the steps. Arthur was standing beside the first car, the door already open. I got in. The door closed. The car pulled away from the Harlow Grand Hotel. Smooth, silent, steady. I did not look back. The wedding photos were never posted publicly. Within a week, someone who had been in that ballroom had talked, because someone always talks, and the story spread, not all of it, not perfectly, but enough for people to understand the broad shape of what had happened. Natalie faced a wave of reactions from people who had been there that night. Friends who had watched and said nothing suddenly had a great deal to say. Some of her closest bridesmaids quietly created distance. Brandon's business took a measurable hit when word reached the right circles that his contract with my hotel group had been suspended. He tried 3 times through intermediaries to reach me. I did not respond. Their marriage, I was told later by someone who knew them, hit serious trouble within the first 2 months. The cracks that were already there before the wedding simply had nowhere left to hide after that night. And Gloria. Gloria moved into her new home 6 weeks after the wedding. She sent me flowers on the day she got the keys. A simple bouquet, the kind she probably picked herself from a market stall, with a small card that just said, "Thank you for seeing me, Beta." I kept that card. It sits on my desk to this day. I have thought about that night many times since it happened. People always ask me, and I get messages about this. They say, "Scotty, wasn't the moment the Rolls-Royces pulled up your revenge? Wasn't that the moment that felt good?" And honestly, no. The moment that felt good, the real moment, was when I walked out of that ballroom the first time, quietly, with my head straight, with 5 words and no tears and no screaming. Because here is what I know now that I wish I had known much earlier in my life. Your dignity is not something anyone can take from you. They can try. They can slap you in front of 200 people and scream the word nobody at you until the chandeliers shake. But your dignity, that is yours. It lives in how you respond, in what you choose to carry and what you choose to put down. Natalie thought she was humiliating me that night. What she was actually doing was showing every single person in that room exactly who she was, in the most permanent, unforgettable way possible. The Rolls-Royces didn't reveal who I was. Her behavior revealed who she was. That is the difference. Never let anyone rush you into becoming someone you are not, especially not in your worst moment. Stay quiet when quiet is powerful. Stay soft when softness takes more strength than screaming ever could. And never, ever judge the person sitting quietly in the corner. You have absolutely no idea what they carry. If this story meant something to you today, please share it right now with someone who needs to hear it, someone who has been looked down on, someone who has been made to feel like they don't belong. Send it to them, because this one is for them. Subscribe if you haven't already. I tell stories every week that will stay with you. And drop a comment below. I want to know, has anyone ever underestimated you? Has anyone ever looked at you and seen nothing when you were carrying everything? Tell me your story. I read every single comment. Every one. And I will see you in the next one.